Lower the longboat, Mr. Baines.
Lower the longboat.
It reminds me of the firehouse in one of Albert's steamships. I've often thought, fancy a sailor sweating all day down below without even sight of the sea, shoveling coal into a furnace.
Fancy a sailor, fancy me.
Yes, it's wicked. My brother a ship owner and his wife living in a basement.
Every penny James earns is for buying more shares in the company.
Let me help you.
Oh, you'll sully your frock.
Look, you'll do yourself an injury. You can't even lift
Oh,
that.
indeed I can.
Anne, are you not well?
Up she goes. Grab on. Up in her. Won't be worth much without the cargo.
Cargo's worth nothing at all. More salt than sugar in those bags now.
Caught in a right squall by the look of her. Didn't even have time to reef the sails.
The gumption to try.
No one abandons ship unless they have to, sir.
Come on, put your backs into it, heave! Got a cargo of our own to get home.
Won't stand the keeping too long, neither.
Extra day at sea won't harm even our cargo of pineapples. Should be some good salvage money in this, eh?
It's that smoky old range in there. Oh, James will have something to answer for when he gets back.
It's just a queasiness that passes soon enough. How's young William?
Wanting his dinner, I should think. I must go. The maid has no way with the child at all. You know, James could afford a maid to help you.
Servants? You'll be wishing a carriage on us next.
Well, at least he could afford a decent house. There's a very passable property, you know, in Trinity Road.
It'll all come soon enough once James has control of the Onedin Line again.
And when will that be? It's like Albert's steamship. Men, heads in the clouds.
So long as we've got our feet on the ground, there's no harm in that.
Well, at least mine aren't stuck in a basement.
Look, go and give young William his dinner.
You'll be all right?
I am all right. It's just a touch of sickness that comes over me at times.
Sickness?
Well, haven't you ever? Oh, no. No, it couldn't be that.
This is coming up nicely, Mr. Baines. Right. Shift the rest over to starboard.
That's it. All right, now, come on, shift the rest of it over to starboard.
I take it there's a set of spare sails aboard.
I've never known a ship put to sea so ill-equipped as this one, sir.
Well, we'll use what we can from our own sail locker. We'll take her in tow.
Oh, Elizabeth, could it really be?
Well, you've waited long enough.
James would be so pleased.
Well, as long as he shows he is. But this is no place to have a baby. He'll have to put his hand in his pocket for you now, Anne.
Oh? Yeah, will he really be pleased?
Of course he will. An heir to the Onedin Line.
At this rate, we'll not make Liverpool by the end of the month, sir.
You'd like us to cut it, wouldn't you, Mr. Baines?
The crew didn't think it worth saving, sir.
I think she's a fine ship, and in my opinion, a fast one. Salvage awards should be worth a tidy sum.
I can't agree, sir. It's not worth the risk we're taking on our cargo of pineapple. It could be rotting below within the week.
Ireland?
Delayed. Ross Carberry sailing tomorrow.
James was ever a man of few words.
Especially when words cost money.
To put him to Ireland?
Well, it must have been serious for James to delay and risk his pineapple cargo.
The ship must have been very badly battered.
Well, it's seaworthy now, or he'd not be sailing tomorrow.
Yes, but in what condition? The Charlotte Rose is not the ship that she was, and the Irish Sea can be fearsome. Oh, I can't bear it when they sail without me. The worst they can endure at sea is nothing beside the fancies that haunt me at home.
Anne,
I was expecting him home today.
Whatever's the matter with you, Anne?
I'm sorry, Robert, I just keep bursting into tears for no reason at all.
you're surprised? It's happened to me often enough.
What happened?
Thank you for bringing the telegram, Robert. I'm sure you've business to attend to.
Listen, what are you doing here?
I'm just calling.
In an apron?
I'm giving Anne a hand in the kitchen.
You giving someone a hand? I've never known you put yourself out for anybody.
Give my love to Sarah.
Listen, if there's anything wrong with her in there, we ought to get a doctor.
We don't need a doctor yet.
Yet? You mean... she's... Anne! Anne! No! Anne! Why ever didn't you tell me?
Well, I wanted James to be the first to know, Robert.
But I think it's wonderful news after all this time. You just wait till I tell Sarah.
Oh, Robert, no.
Oh, don't worry. She won't breathe a word to anyone, I promise you.
It'll be all over Liverpool by nightfall.
Does it really matter?
Not if James were here.
You'll have to get used to being on your own from now on, you know. There'll be no more voyages with James when the baby's born.
Why ever not?
Babies just give them an excuse.
For what?
To go off, fancy free.
Oh, just because Albert's away.
Well, as long as James gets you out of this place, that's something. But you'll have to insist.
I think not. James himself will insist.
James, a father! What do you say about that, then? I was beginning to wonder.
Wonder what?
Oh, you know our James. All that energy and not even a child to show for it. Well, I mean, the rest of us have managed it, haven't we?
Robert, really?
It'll be the making of James, you mark my words, having a family. There's nothing like fatherhood to give a man a proper sense of responsibility. You don't seem best pleased with the news.
Should I be? Another James Onedin on the way.
Oh, put like that, it is a sobering thought.
And a worrying one.
Worrying? I don't know what you mean.
Oh, you never can see beyond the end of your own nose, can you? If James has a son, the Onedin Line will go to him and not to our little Samuel.
Well, I do have 1,500 shares of my own in the company.
Well, you'll need a sight more than that if there's to be anything worth having for our little Samuel. Robert, you must buy more Onedin Line shares.
Get these hatch covers off. Read for discharge.
Mr. Baines? James.
Where are them dockies? We've got a cargo aboard that won't stay a moment longer.
Mr. Baines, what kept you?
We took a derelict in tow. Cost us a week old toll. Captain Onedin thought it was worth it. I can't understand it. Normally, I value his judgment. Get on with it there.
Well, this derelict, what's her name?
It was a Dago schooner, the Maria de Gloria.
A Portuguese or Brazilian, anyway. We put what sail we could on her and took her in tow. But the wind changed to the east, so we could make no headway. So we dropped her off at Rosscarbery.
A good prize, is she?
Well, Baines doesn't think so, but he's wrong. That schooner's worth a lot to her owner, so the salvage award should be a good one, hey?
James.
And the money will go towards buying more shares in the steamship company.
Yes, James.
Bring us that much nearer to getting control of the Onedin Line again, eh?
James.
Of course, I do regret the delay.
I'm having
And some
a baby.
fruit is rotted. Then, on the other hand... What did you say?
I'm with child.
Why didn't you say so?
I've been trying to, but you didn't give me room to get a word in edgeways.
You sure?
I wasn't at first. I couldn't believe it. But I'm sure now. James, is it good news?
Good news? That's wonderful news. Most wonderful news I've ever heard in all my life.
What's that, then?
Here, Robert. I'm going to be a father.
Oh, yes, that. Anne told me. It is certainly most wonderful news.
You when's it to be?
Well, January or February, maybe.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this calls for a toast. Sarah, I'm going to be a father.
I know, Robert told me. Oh, I am pleased for you,
Yeah, Robert, go and get Baines. I want everybody to drink to the area of the Onedin Line.
Oh, and Mr. Baines is chasing up the dockers to unload your cargo of pineapple.
Oh, well, better not interrupt that then, eh?
No.
He can drink his later then.
You'll need a decent home now you're starting a family.
Oh, my son will lack for nothing.
I believe it's a girl.
Oh, no. It'll be a boy. Well, here's to James II. And to the company that'll one day be his.
There's a very nice house in Trinity Road for sale. Of course, it will have to be furnished, and with a baby to bring up, Anne will need servants.
I'm well aware of Anne's needs.
One would hardly think so from a glance around this place.
Elizabeth, I'll trouble you to leave me to mind my own affairs, will you?
If Anne has to have her baby here...
James has already put aside money for a house, Elizabeth. The cargo of pineapple made a handsome profit.
I thought a lot of it went bad.
Only £50 worth. We made £500 profit on the rest, and with what we'll get from salving the Maria de Gloria, Anne will lack for none of the comforts that you so kindly wish on her.
Oh, dear.
No, no, Anne. Elizabeth will attend to it. She is just leaving.
James, you there?
Brother Robert, what on earth does he want now?
Goodbye, Anne.
Goodbye, Elizabeth. Give my regards to Albert.
When I see him...
Your father will be here next. He'll be happy to toast our son's health from now until Christmas.
James. That ship you salvaged.
Yeah.
She's up for auction.
What?
The Maria de Gloria. It's in the Shipping Gazette, look. To be sold at public auction at the Wexford Arms, Rosscarbery, where you left it.
In a month's time.
No, barely time for anyone to go and have a look at it, much less decide if there's a use for it. Well, she'll not fetch more than 300 or 400.
Oh, and this must have lost his wits.
The owner abandoned interest in it when it was lost 4 months ago. It belongs to the insurers now, and they seem to want it off their hands just as soon as they can.
Don't they know a fast ship when they see one?
Oh, don't fret, James. It's their loss.
Oh, and ours.
Indeed it is. The salvage court will allow only 1/3 of the value. So whatever it fetches at public auction, even in Ireland, will be deemed the value.
But it's really worth so much more.
Oh, well. Oh, well. Yes. Only James thinks that.
The Maria de Gloria, you know, so far I've not met anybody who's ever heard of her.
Nor have I. It seems she's never been seen in English waters. And according to the shipping movement lists, well, there's no mention of her there anywhere.
Something odd about that ship. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Robert, we'll go over tonight on a steam packet, eh?
To Ireland?
We could be in Rosscarbery the day after tomorrow.
Oh, cut your losses, James.
And you'll be all right, eh, if Robert and myself go over to Ireland?
Oh, indeed I will. I'm coming with you.
And a woman in your condition doesn't travel over the Irish Sea in a steam packet.
The Irish Sea is a sight less dangerous than climbing those stairs every time I want to go out, or lugging coals from the cellar for that abominable stove.
You never made complaint before.
I've never been with child before.
Where's Robert?
Got no stomach for the sea at all.
Poor Robert. You and I are used to it.
Just heard who's handling the sale of the schooner. It's Mr. Sankey. A sharp customer, I'm told.
Here, how much longer must we endure this bouncing tin kettle?
Long enough for you to acquire your sea legs. Ma'am?
I just lost my balance.
You're ill.
I'm not feeling too well.
You'll never see sick. It's a baby. You should have stayed at home. Told you.
I'm all right, really I am.
She's a lovely line on the water.
Lot of damage.
Day's work for a competent ship's carpenter, no more. Come on. Let's have a word with Mr. Sankey. Mr. Sankey.
Who are you?
Oh, my name's Onedin. It was I that salvaged the Maria de Gloria.
I'm aware of that. Though I fear there won't be much in this for you, Mr. Onedin.
Oh, indeed. Well, now, this is my wife, Anne, and my brother, Robert.
Shall service?
Looks a good ship to me, eh?
She has a bad record.
We haven't seen any records at all. What's she been used for?
Oh, I'm just the insurer's agent. My instructions are to arrange a quick sale and dispose of her.
Why did the owners abandon her, eh?
She couldn't even ride out a gale.
Bad seamanship.
Perhaps.
Some Dago crew from Brazil, eh?
Oh, I know nothing of the crew, except that they were all picked up and taken home to Rio.
Mr. Sankey, what do you think she'll fetch, sir?
My principals would be very happy to receive £500.
Eh?
I did warn you there was little for you in it as salver.
I reckon she's worth 4 times that amount.
But how can you be so sure, James? She doesn't look worth 500 to me. Face the facts, man. You were wrong to price her so highly.
And I think not, Robert.
Look, it's a matter of simple shopkeeping.
Oh, sure it is to you.
Look, if I price a candle at 1 penny, then a penny is what it's worth. Otherwise, I'd charge more.
Mr. Sankey doesn't even want to get more than £500 for her. No one will bid more anyway.
Right. He's got some interest in this, I swear. I mean, to sell a ship like that, here, in this crowd.
James,
Yes.
£50 worth of pineapple rotted on the Charlotte roads because of the delay. Can you honestly say that you're not just trying to justify that?
You saw her timbers. Not more than 2 years old. Lovely lines, you said.
But, James, you've said yourself you've no way of telling how fast a ship is until you take her to sea.
Ah, well, this time it's different. I just know she's a fast ship.
Oh, it's late. Come to bed.
I mean, why would they want to get rid of her so quickly? For such a measly sum?
There's more to life than ships.
I wanted you to stay at home, but no, you would come over here making yourself ill, and now that you are here...
Oh, I'm sorry. I was foolish. It's Elizabeth. She thinks Albert neglects her.
Neglects her? Fine house, carriages, servants...
Everything she needs, so he's no need to feel guilty about not being there himself. She thinks you'd be the same. For a moment, when you wanted me to stay behind... Oh, I admit I was foolish, James. James, where are you James!
Who's there?
Mr. Onedin.
Mr. Sankey, I'm just looking around, you know.
At this time of night?
Well, couldn't sleep, you know.
What can you see in the dark?
All that I want, I think. Well, good night, Mr. Sankey.
I could bring you before a magistrate for this. This is not your property, Mr. Onedin.
And I've no wish it to be, either.
So you went aboard last night, then?
I found out what I wanted to know.
Oh? And what was that?
The Maria de Gloria's a slaver.
A slaver?
I found the fittings for the manacles. And she had a tween deck at one time or other, too.
The slave trade's illegal now.
Ah, well, still goes on.
How? I thought the French and English navies had ships on the African coast to stop it.
So you need a fast ship to evade them. A ship especially built for the purpose. The Brazilians have got too much in slavery to give up the trade altogether. So that schooner was especially designed to put a long wait between her and any ship pursuing her. No wonder you couldn't find out about her, Robert. I doubt she's ever been registered.
But what's she doing in northern latitudes?
Well, maybe they was after a Brazilian owners. And he wants to get rid of her, eh? So he takes on a cargo of sugar, and with the same crew, he sends her on a commercial voyage through seas they've never sailed before.
And at the first sign of trouble, they take to the boat.
So that explains why the insurers want a quick sale. The less attention drawn to her, the better.
Suits my purpose fine.
But you want the ship to get the real value so that you'll get a just salvage award.
Hang the salvage award. I'd rather have the ship.
What?
For £500, she'd be an absolute bargain. On the fruit run from the Azores, she'd beat everybody home. Now, I'll tell you something. When we get back to Liverpool, we display no more interest in the Maria de Gloria, and we tell nobody.
But I thought the £500 was for a house.
Oh, and we can always get a house. But we'll never have a chance of a schooner like that. Not for £500.
It's a poor lookout for a man of my years if he's to be denied the occasion to drink a health to his own grandson.
It'll be 6 months at least before he's even born. And the way you're drinking his health, you'll not be here for the christening.
Well, I understand at least he's to be born in a more salubrious surrounding than this.
Yes, James is to buy a house for us.
The property I'm told you have in mind seems sound enough in her timbers, but a bit short on accommodation.
If it's the house in Trinity Road that you're referring to, I've been to look at it, that's all. I'm not sure I'm completely taken with it. In any case, at the moment, James needs the money for other purposes.
But it only takes one other bidder to find out about that ship, and the price will soon soar to its proper value.
Well, I'll just have to chance that, won't I? £500 is as far as I can go.
Huh. So Anne must do without the house in Trinity Road.
Oh, if anybody talks to me about that again...
Look, we're
Sarah.
only trying to help James.
Help?
Well, yes, I mean...
James, we do have something saved. And with that little nest egg from my Aunt Maud...
Are you offering me a loan?
Well, not exactly.
No, we thought if we could buy, say 500 of your Onedin Line shares, well, then they'd still be in family.
Oh,
and
now,
since
if you want to
need
buy some more shares, you buy them from the public. That way we'll have all the more in the family, won't we? Unless, of course, you want to reduce my holding. Eh? Robert, I might have to sell some shares, but if I do, I'll sell them to people I know I can buy them back from.
Has James Onedin found out she was a slaver?
I can't say, but I strongly suspect that he has.
Well, if he has, he'll bid for her. Oh, good morning, Emma. Miss Emma Callan, may I present Mr. Sankey, agent for Weatherby's, who insured the Maria de Gloria.
I'll take my leave.
Oh, there's no need. You can speak freely in front of Miss Callan. She owns the business.
Indeed.
She also has a head for it.
Very pretty one, too, if I may say so.
Now, Mr. Sankey thinks that James Onedin may have stumbled on the truth about the Maria de Gloria.
And that she's a slaver.
Well, a fast ship, anyway. A ship he might be inclined to purchase if he could get it cheap enough.
Well, Wilbraham, at least, will bid against him.
So will I. Because if James Onedin's at that auction, I'll be there, too.
And if that's the case, there's no question of this private sale we've been discussing.
A private sale.
Well, Mr. Sankey remembers our interest in the Maria de Gloria when her owners wanted to dispose of her quickly 6 months ago. And now she's turned up again. Brought in by, of all people, James Onedin. Mr. Sankey's offering her to us for a straight £2,500.
Well, then why go to the trouble of putting her up for auction?
To save Mr. Sankey's principals from paying James Onedin the salvage money he expects.
How?
Well, if we don't let anyone know what a fast ship she is, ma'am, no one will bother to go all the way to Ireland to bid for her.
Well, most of the locals will go to is about £400, and Mr. Sankey's man, what's his name?
Wilbraham.
Aye, Wilbraham has instructions to top that.
You'll get it for 450 at the most.
Of which James Onedin gets 1/3 as salvage.
A mere £150.
Aye.
And then your Mr. Wilbraham, acting for you, sells the schooner to us.
On the quiet for £2,500.
What would she be worth if you auctioned her fairly?
Well, at the least 3,000.
She's as good as that.
Yes, she's remarkable, ma'am.
Which is why my Mr. Sankey knows we'll be glad to have her.
Well, you can bid at the auction if you prefer, Mr. Fogarty. But remember my way. You gain a considerable bargain. We save ourselves a great sum by preventing Onedin from getting the full salvage due. From what I hear, that in itself could be quite a consideration with you, Mr. Fogarty.
Yes, but if James Onedin's bid for the ship himself...
Well, in that case, our transaction can't stand.
So it's imperative that we find out.
James says she'd beat everything on the sea from the Azores.
A fine time to buy a ship.
Oh, the right time if it's a bargain.
Elizabeth?
Oh, quite the stay at home these days, aren't you, James? That's nice, to be with your wife at a time like this.
Is dinner ready yet?
It will be soon if the fire's not gone out.
Anne says you're not going to buy that house in Trinity Road after all.
Elizabeth, I've told you before, keep out of our affairs.
You mean to leave her here, don't you? Your profits and your ships come first, even before your own child.
Anne is as anxious as I am that our child shall make no difference to our way of life. She readily understands that if I need to put the affairs of the Onedin Line before a bow-fronted window or a lace-covered cot, that I've every right to do so. Well, am I not right, Anne?
Of course, James. I must go. I left the servants spring cleaning, and with Albert away, they're inclined to grow lax in their duties. How lucky you are, Anne, not to be troubled with these problems.
Next time our sister comes to call, I advise you to be a bit more reticent with your confidences, eh?
Could you put some more coal on the fire for me? I've managed to fill the bucket, but it's the lifting I find hard.
Anne, if it should be necessary to find more than £500, would you begrudge me the expenditure?
Well, how could you raise the money?
Oh, sell some of the shares.
In that case, couldn't you sell a few more and we could have a house as well?
Be a year before the Maria de Gloria made enough profit to buy back the shares.
And a house couldn't make any profit to buy them back.
So you would begrudge it me, eh?
I can manage the stairs without undue exertion at the moment, but not the coal.
I hope I'm not incommoding you.
Oh, an unexpected honour, Miss Callan.
Well, I'd heard your wife was with child, and knowing there'll be times when you're away at sea, I wanted her to know if there was ever anything I could do.
My wife has everything she needs.
I came out of kindness, not charity.
Oh, won't you sit down, Miss Callan? Afraid you find us ill-prepared for visitors.
Pray make no ceremony for me, Mrs. Onedin.
You'll take a glass of something? We have some Madeira.
No, I can see you're just about to dine. I'll call another day.
Oh, you'd think nobody'd ever had a baby before.
Well, your wife has never had one before.
It's not expected for another 6 months yet, at least.
Well, let's hope you're home for the happy event. And that by then your fortunes will have turned sufficiently to provide for it.
Miss Callan, why have you called, eh?
I admit that whilst here I did intend to make inquiries about something else. But my concern for your wife is no less genuine for that. This ship you salvaged, well, Mr. Fogarty and I were wondering whether it was worth going over to Ireland to bid for her.
Well, would I tell you if it were?
Well, you would, I think, if you knew, in fact, it were not.
What if I were to tell you that the Maria de Gloria is so unstable that she'd found her after hitting the first gale, that she's so unseaworthy that I should have let her to sink? What would you infer from that, eh? That I wanted you out of the way so I could get her cheaply myself?
Very possibly. Or my uncle may have underrated you, but I do not.
Well, whoever buys the Maria de Gloria buys a pig in a poke. For £500, she could be worth it, or she could not. For the Callan Company, it's not much of a risk. But for my wife and myself, expecting our first, well, we've got better things to spend our money on.
Well, I appreciate your candor. Good day, Mrs. Onedin. I'll see myself out. Good day.
Now, Miss Callan. Here. That should kill any interest in her there, eh? Now, unless anybody else has heard of that ship, she's as good as ours.
Oh, James, stop it.
Stop what?
Well, it all seems so petty.
Anne, that ship could be the way back for us.
Another ship, another gamble. Oh, I'm sorry. I just feel so weary. I'll get you dinner. I fear it'll be overdone.
I see you're sailing today, Mr. Baines.
Aye, Mr. Fogarty.
Onedin's in command.
Aye. His wife's with him now, saying goodbye. We sail on the tide.
Oh.
So he won't be on hand to see what he might get for salvaging that schooner. The auction's tomorrow.
He's not expecting much from that.
Got his fingers burnt there, didn't he?
Why don't you buy her, sir? You could afford a few thousand.
A few thousand? Well, she's not worth more than 300 or 400, from what I'm told.
Captain Onedin never wants to hear of the Maria de Gloria again.
I'm not surprised, Mr. Baines.
Well, why are you sailing today?
An idle ship costs money. We were loaded sooner than I counted on, so why wait?
So that you can go to Ireland to buy that schooner.
Oh, you say that.
Yes. James, you've hardly spoken a word to me these last 2 days. Can't you see I'm trying to make amends? I want you to buy her.
Another venture, another gamble.
Oh, I was just feeling so weary that day. Frightened. I was even a bit envious, too. Emma Callan in her fine clothes and Elizabeth. Look, I don't care a jot for a house. If buying Maria de Gloria is what we need, well, that's auction tomorrow. You must be the boss of it.
He thinks I'm saying it.
I neglected to tell him I got my master's certificate back.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Baines.
Thank you, ma'am. I told him you'd no wish to hear of the Maria de Gloria again. So if you go now, you just have time to catch the packet.
Yeah, only hope Fogarty doesn't sail as well.
Would you only bother with that if he thought you were, too, sir? You'll have it all to yourself. Let's hope it's worth what you pay for it.
I'll be back in a couple of days, eh? With the schooner.
So he was going anyway. I should have guessed.
Well, you know Captain Onedin, ma'am.
Yes. But for a while, I forgot.
But what about her finer points, Mr. Sankey? How do I recommend her to the buyers?
Just say she's a 300-ton schooner in need of repairs.
A powerful, fine schooner in good state of repair.
That is not what I said, Mr. Delaney.
A broad beam, sits well on the water, good, strong hindquarters of solid...
She is a ship, not a prize bull.
Maybe, but I'm a deal more skilled at selling cattle than ships. And there's so little to attract their imagination, as it were. Ah, the Dublin coach. Let's hope it brings some customers. Nobody from these parts has money to spare.
I should have thought she was just what was needed for the local potato trade.
There's a small bunch of farmers who form themselves into a sort of a syndicate. And if they haven't drunk the money away before the auction tomorrow, they maybe bid a few hundred. But if you want her to fetch you a fair price...
We just want her disposed of, Mr. Delaney.
Ah, here's someone with the right smell of affluence about him.
His name's Wilbraham. You'll find tomorrow he could well be your man.
And with the gentleman upstairs as well, I was forgetting him.
What gentleman upstairs? This was hardly necessary.
Just here to observe, Mr. Sankey, to keep an eye on my interest in the matter.
Good evening, Fogarty.
Good evening, Mr. Onedin.
James has taken all the money he could raise to Ireland with him. I don't know why you put up with it, Anne. Why I ever questioned it, I want to know. I married him for security, and I love him for the lack of it. Dear Elizabeth, you wouldn't understand at all.
£300 I am bid, do I hear, for. 400 for this fine schooner. Now, gentlemen, this auction is conducted by inch of candle. When the candle burns out, the lot falls to whatever bid I've accepted at that time. Now, take heed from my experience as an auctioneer. In the hope of getting it cheap, you stand to lose it altogether if you leave it to the last moment. So who will bid me £400? 350. 320.
If your friend Wilbraham doesn't push the price up soon, Onedin will get it for a mere £400. He, I know, isn't going to raise his hand until that candle's near burns out.
Just in time for Wilbraham to make another bid.
You can't count on that.
Oh, Wilbraham knows these auctions by inch of candle. He can time them to a fraction of a second. So keep calm, Mr. Fogarty. Wilbraham will get that schooner for 450, and our transaction can take place as planned.
But if Onedin should get him first, I'll not risk it.
Wait a moment, Justin.
Ah, come on now, gentlemen. Surely we can do better than this.
Oh, Elizabeth, wait!
Less than half an inch of candle left, and I'm still only bid £350. Do I hear £400? Mr. Wilbraham. Ah, thank you, sir. Now, who will bid me £450? Yes, sir, Mr. O'Reardon. £500. Thank you, Mr. Wilbraham. £550. With Mr. O'Reardon at £550. 600 I'm bid.
That's Wilbraham's limit. If he goes any higher, we've nothing to gain by selling to you afterwards.
But if Onedin should get it now...
650 I am bid.
That's your Irishmen, the potato merchants.
Well, at least let's see the colour of Onedin's money.
700. I look for 700. Who will bid me £700? 700, Mr. Wilbraham. Can you help me, Mr. O'Reardon? 750 I am bid. Mr. Wilbraham. 800, Mr. Wilbraham. Now, who will bid me £800? I am bid 700.
He's still in at 800. Just how much higher can he go?
Now, gentlemen, there's only a minute or two.
Time we found out.
And I must have £800. Yes, sir. I have £800, and the gentleman's just joined us, Mr.
Fogarty.
850. Thank you, Mr. O'Reardon. 900. Ah, that's better. £900 I am bid. 950. 1,000. Do I hear £1,000? Well, who will bid me £1,000? With Mr. O'Reardon there at £950, do I hear 1,000? 1,000. Thank you, sir. Now, gentlemen, time is running out. Can we say £1,200? 1,100 then. Who will give me £1,100? With Mr. Fogarty at £1,000, do I hear 1,100? 1,100. Come, gentlemen.
James!
Do I hear 1,100? 1,100. Am I bid £1,100?
You are.
You're leaving it late, sir.
Well, get on with it then.
1,200. 1,200 I am bid. 1,250. 1,300, Mr. Fogarty. Thank you, sir. 1,400. Yes, sir. 15. 16. 17. 18. I must have more than this, gentlemen. Can I hear £1,900? Will you give me £1,900? 2,000. 2,200. 2,400. With Mr. Onedin at £2,400, will you give me £2,600? Can I say £2,800, Mr. Onedin? Do I hear £2,800? With Mr. Fogarty at £2,600, do I hear 2,800?
You hear 2,800 now.
2,800, I'm bid 3,000. 2,900. 2,850. Sold to Captain Onedin for £2,800.
I hope you've got the money, Mr. Onedin.
You made a deal with Sankey, didn't you? Auction her off cheaply, took me out of my salvage award, and buy her for the Callan Company.
But you didn't know my limit, did you, Onedin? Well, you've got yourself a fine ship.
So we're getting nearly 1,000 for the salvage award, which means the schooner's cost me under £2,000.
And you have but £500. You'll have to sell nearly £1,500 worth of your shares.
Ah, but she's a fine schooner.
So,
but on the
you're back.
run, she'll make more than... What's happened? Anne? Where's Anne?
In bed. Ill.
She was lifting the coal for that stove, and no one else here at the time.
Anne?
A child? She hasn't lost.
Yes. But what matter? James has gained another ship. Did you get the schooner?
Yeah.
Good. That's what we need.